you guys are being recorded, but it's not saying we're live yet, but we should be. I normally get an email saying I'm live.
Oh, that's right, from Carol.
Well, from Carol, but it's not. I guess we're live.
Yes. Oh, I just lost one. I don't even match. Okay.
Come on, boost up. Come on. I think we're live, but
Got the microphone on?
yeah, we're recording anyway. Well, you want to tell a story just in case?
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you have nicer weather than we do right at the moment. It was 73 degrees yesterday, and today it is sleeting outside, and we're waiting for the snow to come. So welcome to our family kitchen. This is a family affair. Today we have different shirts on. Yes.
I have an attitude.
I have a football jersey.
And I have
The boot.
the boot. Homeland.
So welcome to our live show
Yes.
from our family kitchen. Today, Donna, with the assistance of Tori Reinecke, is going to be making cream puffs and braciolas. I'll be handling the tech.
TJ.
TJ Fogel. Okay, so we are going to start, first of all, with boiling 1 cup of water, and then 1/2 cup of butter. And as soon as that boils, we'll put in our 1 cup of flour. Now, if you're baking with us, you might want to turn your oven on. I usually turn it to 425 to heat it up, and then I turn it down to 400 when I put in my cream puffs. And it usually takes about 30 minutes, but I always set my timer at 25 minutes so I can check and go the 5 minutes longer to make them golden brown. I usually turn it to 425. So as our butter is melting, cream puffs, as you can see here. Can you see my pan?
Yeah, I can see the pan.
So we're melting the butter into the 1 cup of water, and we'll wait till that all melts before we add our flour. So, Vicki, would you like to tell a story?
I'm just a little lost puppy right now.
You know, one of my classmates asked me why I made cream puffs at St. Joseph's Day, because she never saw them on any St. Joseph's altar, and she went to several of them in Des Moines, Iowa, since she went to St. Anthony's Church. And I said, Mom, we didn't have a St. Joseph's altar in our parish, and we didn't celebrate, but Mom always made cream puffs for St. Joseph's Day. I said, Mom. And I always use a wooden spoon. Now, they say you have to beat, when we beat each egg in separately, to use your wooden spoon. I don't know why, but Mom always used a wooden spoon, so that's why I'm using a wooden spoon. And as you can see, I have 4 eggs here. The first 3 are, I just cracked them and left them whole. But the 4th one, I've mixed it so that it is broken up. And I just saw that on the cooking channel. As you know, I love to watch the cooking channel. And so they said your last one will mix in faster if you do beat it first. So, okay, our water is boiling. Our butter is almost all melted. Just a little sliver left. Now you add the flour, 1 cup. I have 2 half cups here. And you stir that while you're adding. And then I'm going to put Now my fourth a teaspoon of salt, but if you're using salted butter, I wouldn't add the extra salt. Today I'm using unsalted butter. And you stir it until it becomes a firm ball. And I will show you the firm ball, and then I'll take it off the heat. Only takes a few minutes. But you really have to have some strong arm work next. This just cooks your flour, so you don't have that floury taste. And this is what it looks like after it's cooked. All right, so now you're supposed to wait 10 minutes. Let it cool down. Before you start adding your eggs. Otherwise, your eggs will cook in the dough and you'll have a scrambled egg effect. So we'll let it 10 minutes. Now, if you're making the cream with us today, I do have an added ingredient. 1 tablespoon of cornstarch to help set your cream. And the recipe for that is on page 35 if you have the cookbook. Tim did put the ingredients on beforehand. So this was a recipe that we received when we were in Italy. Linda and I went to a cooking show, and Rosanna Perello gave us this recipe, and she had made that for Linda and Mike's 50th wedding anniversary dessert. And their picture is also in the cookbook right before the this and that and recipes. So now, does anybody have any questions so far about how we're making these cream puffs? Well, that's cooling off. I'll show you the pans. So you can either use parchment paper, which I'm going to put on this one pan, but I always spray the pan first before I put the parchment paper on, and that holds it down. And then I also spray it again after I put the paper down, so that you have the greased effect for your cream puffs. So I'll just give it a light spray. Or you can use the silicone pads if you have those. I've used those too before for it. And this even gives you where you can put it if you want smaller ones that you have your measurements right on there. They have different sizes of those silicone mats too. And they're very handy when you're making cookies or whatever. So, what do we have left?
I had it on 10 hours, so I had to, I figured I better switch it to 10 minutes.
Okay, so today we're going to make this, and then we're going to move on. While I put these in the oven, we will move on to making the filling, the custard. Now, some people like to put pudding in theirs. Some people like to do whipped cream in theirs. So you can have a variety of different fillings if you like. My cousin in St. Louis even uses pudding for her cannolis instead of making the cannoli filling. So she said it's quick and easy to use the pudding mix.
Question, should you spray the mat?
Yes, we do spray the mat too. I don't spray the bottom because silicone sticks to the thing, but I do spray the top, yes. And they're going to bake for 30 minutes. And so now I'm going to, Elton Brown made cream puffs yesterday on the cooking channel, and he said to just let it cool for 5 minutes before you start putting your eggs in. And so maybe I'll listen to him today and do the 5-minute thing. I have made them before without waiting at all, but they would go flat in the oven when you take them out. So it does help to cool your dough a little bit. Now, he also says you can freeze your cream puffs. You make them and don't bake them and just put them in the freezer and they'll last up to 3 months. And then you just take out a few at a time and bake them when you want 1 or 2 cream puffs. Now, this is where it takes time and a lot of elbow grease. Let me get this mixed up and I'll show you how it's going to look. So now you see it's going to be wet looking and your ball has disappeared.
That's good. Yeah, I think you can see it.
So now you have to mix it until your ball comes back again and you don't see the egg. Excuse me.
While you're mixing, we are live streaming to YouTube. You can find us on TJ Fogel. As we continue doing recipes, they're going to be on that channel under TJ Fogel. There's also another program called Vimeo, and we also have live streamed on Vimeo. So if you need to come back and look at the cooking channels, or you want to refer somebody to the recipe or the cooking show, you can give them look up YouTube channel and send them a link.
Okay, now see, we're back in our ball again. Tim, can they see the ball?
Yeah, that's good, yeah.
Okay, so now we'll add another egg. My sous chef here, Vicky, Tori. Now we're all broken apart again. And then we just have to beat it until it comes back in our ball. So cream puffs are one of my favorite desserts, but you just don't make them enough because it is a lot of work. You do it again until you get a nice firm ball, and you know your egg is all worked in there.
Kind of looks like mashed potatoes, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Thick mashed potatoes. There's the second egg. Now we'll go to the third egg. Yeah. Not the oven. But you could put it on 400 now. Yeah.
Can you use a KitchenAid with the dough attachment?
You know, when I watch the baking championships, and they only have a half hour to make their stuff, when they make the, what do you call it, pâte à choux, your French pastry, they do use the beaters. I haven't tried it yet, so I didn't want to try it for today, just in case they wouldn't come out. But yes, they have used the electric mixer. But you do the same thing, only one egg at a time, until you get it all mixed in. I don't know if I would use the dough one or the paddle. The paddle might be a better one to use. You need a strong arm.
She's stronger than I am. That's why she's doing all the work.
And there's your third egg. Now we'll put the one that I have mixed in. Okay, then you can bring the cookie sheet. Which one? The one with the parchment paper. We'll do the parchment paper one today. My last batch, I did do the silicone and it came out fine. This one you mix again until all the liquid's gone. You don't see all that egg. Yeah. It is hard. It is. It's a workout. So if you're doing any kind of dieting and doing any kind of workout, don't do your workout before you do this, because otherwise your arm might be too tired. I'll finish if you give me a tablespoon now, please. I forgot that. So it's kind of a sticky dough. Give me 2 tablespoons in fact. No.
Soup
Spoon.
Soup spoons.
Tablespoon, silverware. Oh, Tim's got them.
Thanks, Tim.
You're welcome, Tori.
I'm lacking on my job here.
Okay, so now, depending how big you want them, it says this recipe makes 10. If you want them larger, you don't make as many, of course.
Is it safe to eat the dough?
No, because you have raw eggs, you should never eat your dough. But I know people have in the past. Now, I have one daughter, I won't say who she is. She doesn't like them filled, so she just makes them and eats them plain.
That must be Lisa.
That's what I was thinking too.
I didn't say that. Lisa, it wasn't me.
No. We just know our siblings.
And how many does a batch make?
10. Let's see how many I get. I'm making them a little bigger, so maybe we'll see.
Somebody must be telling on you, Mother, because it says you always ate the dough.
Oh, now who said that? Must be Lisa said that.
I know, that's Debbie and Caitlin.
Oh, really? Oh, my goodness. Girls. I'm sure they must have seen me lick the pan, maybe. The spoons. Okay. This one looks a little skimpy. Now, I have a friend who made these for our potlucks at work. And she would make little ones, and then she would fill them with tuna salad. She'd fill some with a strawberry cream. So she made different varieties all the time. So now we're going to put this in the oven, and I will set the timer at 25 minutes. I always like to check it. You put it on the middle shelf.
Total cook time is 30,
30 minutes.
but you'll check them at 25.
Right.
How far apart did you place those?
Probably you want them about 1 inch apart or 1.5 inches so that they don't, when they puff up, they won't touch each other. And I just so happen to have a finished batch here. Now, when you take them out of the oven, I take a knife, where's that sharp knife? And a bread knife. I usually use a bread knife, and then I will cut them. Now, some people will only put a slit in the side, and then they use a piping bag to fill it. So, give me the finished one out of there, even though Tim didn't like it because
Yeah, you're supposed to make the filling up.
I put, I need another tablespoon.
You're supposed to make the filling first. Yeah, they haven't made the filling
Oh,
yet.
we have to make the filling first. I am sorry. I am so confused because I have been making these all week. This is my fourth batch. All right. We are going to put this back, and we are going to make the filling. So I've got a double broiler, and Tim was going to give me my ingredients. This one didn't come on.
Are you going to mix some of that bowl?
Is this different? I'm going to move it over to this one. And then you do milk.
After, do you need a spoon for that? When you want to stir that with?
Whisk.
What temperatures do you want your stove?
That's good. 340 is good. Okay, so now I've got the double broiler going over here. The milk goes in this one. You want to scald your milk. Now that usually only takes 2 to 3 minutes. So what I usually do is after it's been on there, and you don't want it to boil at all. What I do is I just tilt the pan, and if I see there's a line up there around where the top of the milk is, and that's 2 cups of milk, and I tilt it, and when I see the line up there, I know it's scalded. So.
What's the oven temperature?
400.
400 degrees. I heat it at 425, and when I put them in, I put it at 400. So while my water's starting to boil, I am going to whisk in my eggs.
No, you didn't.
Now again, you've got your eggs, and then you're going to have them in your double broiler. I've added that tablespoon of cornstarch. I'm going to whip the eggs until they become frothy first before I add my sugar. Then I will add my sugar and salt and my cornstarch. And I just have a tablespoon of cornstarch and only a half a teaspoon, no, just a pinch of salt. And then I have a half a teaspoon of vanilla that goes in at the end. Okay, now this is the tricky part because the milk is now scalded. And now I'm going to beat my eggs until they become really frothy. I have turned off my water. No, your milk. I mean my milk, sorry. My water's still boiling. So, I don't know if you can see the eggs, but again, your arm's going to get a workout. I never knew my one daughter ate them before I filled them until I go to fill them, because I don't fill them until right before you serve them. Otherwise, they'll get soggy. And,
You can use her name, Mom. She knows.
she knows she's on.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Lisa. So then I add my sugar, my pinch of salt, and Lisa, I'm doing Elton Brown's corn starch.
It's Elton John.
Yeah, Tim thought I was saying Elton John.
Tim
instead
wasn't
of
thinking,
Elton.
that's what he heard.
That's what he heard. That's his.
And she goes, I don't even know who Elton John is.
Now I put in my cornstarch. Whoops. Whoa.
Make a mess.
And I made a mess.
That's all right. We can think about it later.
So while that's cooking, can Vicky read the recipe ingredients for the cream puffs and the filling, just so they have that again?
Where is
The cream puffs, I don't have that recipe written down, Tim.
Uh-oh.
The cream puffs are
The recipe for the cream puffs.
1 cup of boiling water, a half a cup of butter, and a cup of flour. Again, if you're using unsalted butter, then you put a pinch of
And
salt in it.
and 4 eggs.
Right. 4 eggs, 1 at a time. Now only pour a little bit of your milk in to get your eggs tempered so you don't end up with scrambled eggs. And then you keep stirring as you put the other eggs in. Or the other water, I mean, or milk. Now, some people would take off your eggs off the boiling water while you put in that first little bit of milk to temper your eggs. And then you can pour the rest of your milk in.
Whoops, came over this way so you didn't have to reach across.
And then now you're going to keep stirring until you get a little bit thick, and you'll feel it getting thicker. And then what I usually do is take a tablespoon again and dip it in, and then take a line down through the middle of it, and if it stays and it doesn't run, then that means your custard is almost cooked.
Could you use panna cotta for this?
Oh, you probably could. You could probably try a lot of different panna cotta with some fruit in it and put them in.
That sounds good.
And I have one if you want to get it out of the refrigerator, even though Tim says it looks terrible. I made one today with chocolate pudding.
Where's that? Oh. Okay.
Vicki, if you want to bring it to this side and show them. So you can put them with different fillings. And some people just use plain Cool Whip. And Tim's laughing at us, but I have made them with chocolate pudding and vanilla pudding and coconut cream, whatever your fancy is. And if you want to cheat by using pudding made, you can instead of making your custard. However, your custard is absolutely delicious. You know, we made our sweets first before we made our braciolas. That's because Tim always says,
Dessert first, life is short.
so when we get together for a meal, you can always bet he's already had his dessert before we even dish up the main course.
Maybe 2 or 3 of them,
Do you
too.
want to give me a tablespoon? So here's the testing. You put it in, and then you take and make a line, so that's not quite cooked enough. Because, it's trying to stay together. If you see it doesn't run together.
Did you set the timer on your oven, and did I hear a beep?
No,
No,
she did set it.
I did set it.
Okay.
And then you could make this the day ahead of time and set it in your refrigerator and make your cream puffs the next day. And don't fill your cream puffs until you're about ready to serve them. I don't know if you've ever bought any cream puffs at the store, but sometimes when you buy them at the store, the bottom is kind of soggy, and that's because they filled them and they've been sitting there for a while. There, it's not running together, so that means it's cooked.
Interesting. I never knew that.
Then you can take it off the water. Add your vanilla. You have to get your vanilla stirred in.
Carly agrees with me. Dessert first.
Oh, right, Carly. Then you go run 100 miles, huh, to take it off so you don't get fat. But I'll tell you, after all this cooking for St. Patty's Day, we made Irish soda bread. We had our mini St. Joseph's altar. I have eaten and eaten plenty this last week. And on top of all that, Girl Scout cookies. As you can see, it's how it's cooked here in your pan, then you know it's going to set up. This would be good to taste. All right.
No, you want to taste it.
So now we'll put this in the refrigerator, and I guess I might have to fill these tomorrow with this one. Because I have one made. Yeah, and this, and we need to wipe off the burners. All right, give me that filling and another tablespoon. This is my powdered sugar shaker that I put on at the end. Do you want to wipe those off? No, we need them.
One. You check.
Oh, yeah, I did. So. Whoops, I need something to, okay.
Do what?
All right. A tray to put these on. It's up there on top of the microwave. Sprinkle the powdered sugar. Then we sprinkle powdered sugar. I made rosettes for the first time with my mother's iron that I found in my cupboard. And I don't think I'll be making them anytime soon. They are a lot of work. I can see why they went to the Wandas or the Wanties, and they made them into a rosette shape. Whoops. Because it was much easier to do it by hand than with that iron. But I did have a client in the beauty salon who used to bring them to me at Christmas. I just made this right before the class, and it should have gone a little longer in the fridge, but they're mighty delicious. Oops. We can put those in the fridge, I guess. Yeah, after we show them. Okay. As you can see, we ate a couple before we.
I didn't.
I didn't.
I did with the chocolate pudding. There they are. That's your finished look. All right. So now, let's see, we have 9 minutes left in the oven, but we'll get started on our next adventure. The Braciolas. So, Vicki, if you want to bring over that cutting board. Braciolas are on page 11. And what, oh, my over here. In page 11 in the book, and we told you you could make any kind of tomato sauce, your spaghetti sauce, you could buy it from the store, whatever you do. Now mine, I made it this morning and put it in the crock pot. I boiled the water, a little bit of water, and put my spices in it. I put garlic and basil and salt and pepper. After the water boils with those spices in it, then I add 2 cans of tomato sauce and 1 can of tomato paste. To the tomato sauce, I add 1 can of water. To the tomato paste, I add 3 cans of water, of the little tomato paste cans, the 7-ounce cans. Okay? And so my sauce has been cooking in my crock pot all day. Now we put the oil over here. Now here's what I use. I use a bottom round roast and I slice it. Okay? So this is the one I cut my pieces off of this morning. I like to cut it partially frozen because that way it's easier to cut. And my grandson in Taiwan, who maybe's watching right now, maybe not. I bet they're during the night over there. But anyway, he bought me this knife from Germany, and it is really sharp, and it works very well. All right, so now I've cut the pieces, and then I use the meat tenderizer. This one is a Pampered Chef one, and it's also on the other side. You can use it for your chicken when you want to make your chicken. You don't want it to tear your chicken, so it has a smooth side also that you can use it to pound out your chicken. But always put saran wrap when you're pounding out chicken. I did use that when I make chicken cordon bleu. All right, so now I'm going to tenderize this on both sides. Now I cut them thin enough so you don't have, it doesn't take much to tenderize them. All right, so that's it. Now they're tenderized and they're ready to start your filling. So I've got bacon. I've got, now I flash freeze my basil when I pick it so that now today it looks fresh. I need a paper towel. And it smells absolutely wonderful. I'm going to put the basil on that while I start with my garlic. Now,
Ingredients, please.
ingredients. Salt and pepper. All right. Oh, for my sauce?
Either or all.
For my sauce, I did salt and pepper and garlic and basil. That's what I put in my water that I boiled before I added the tomato sauce. I'm going to do the same for this. I've got salt and pepper and I've got garlic. Somewhere? I got it. Okay.
And can you tell us about how you flash freeze your basil?
Yes, I flash freeze my basil. I rinse it first, and then I put it in my boiling water for 3 minutes. And then I take it out and I have an ice bath right next to it. And I will put it in the ice bath next. Then I drain it again in my colander. And then I put it on a cookie sheet to freeze, flash freeze. And then I will bag them up after they're frozen. Yeah, 340.
Now the steaks you're handling now, they've been all tenderized?
They've all been tenderized. I did that this morning after Mass so that they'd be ready. I just wanted to do one to show you. Menu. Now go plus. So I've got different size steaks. Now sometimes the bigger ones, what I'll do, and I'll show you after I get them filled. Okay. All right. I need, now I use toothpicks for mine. My mother always used the string. then you have to have a scissors or something to cut your string. And so I went to toothpicks. It's much easier. You just have to tell the people, though, to beware of the toothpicks. So what I'm going to do now that I've got them all tenderized, I'm going to sprinkle them all with granulated garlic.
When you flash froze or prepared the basil, you put them in boiling water for 3 minutes and then into a cold ice bath.
Yes. Now I've got salt and pepper, and I got my handy dandy automatic salt shaker here that I use coarse salt in. And then I also have the pepper one, which has peppercorns in it. Now, I got this in a Christmas white elephant exchange that we had at our house one Christmas. Couldn't figure out how to use it. Put batteries, it takes 8 batteries in each one. But you have to put it on the correct way in order to get it working. I kept thinking I had dead batteries. So I've got salt and pepper and garlic, and now I'm going to put my basil. So I spread my basil.
And the other way you can use fresh basil.
Yes, fresh basil is ideal in the summer when you make these. I grow it in my backyard. That's why I had so much of this. And I have one spot that loves to grow basil.
Can you use the basil from the store in the crushed or dried?
Yes, I have done that before when I don't have fresh basil or don't have it in my freezer. I do use dried basil. Tone Brothers, of course. You can buy it at Sam's here. So you get basil. I've got my oil heating to fry. And then what I'll do after I heat my oil and fry these, I will put them right in the sauce. Now, usually if I do it in the crock pot, I will let them cook all day in the crock pot on low. If you want to have it for lunch, then I put it in the crock pot on high and start early in the morning. Okay, now I've cut my bacon in half, the slices.
Amelia says, hello, Nana.
Hi, Amelia. That is my great-granddaughter, and she's 3 years old.
How many pounds of meat did you approximately use today?
I had a 10-pound roast, and I cut it in fourths. So I used 1/4, which would be 2.5, 3 pounds. If you can buy, now this is what my girls have been buying, because they don't go through the work of cutting and slicing themselves. They find at Walmart and Safeway, they're all now carrying the thin sliced steak. And they call it, what, carnitas?
There is one of those. It's Saber something, I forget. That's one kind. And then the other one is Milanese.
Oh, Melanie's.
Melanie's.
Okay, they're not quite done, so we need 5 more minutes. All right, now, since this is an odd shape, you see the skinny end and a wide end, I will roll in the skinny end and end up with the wide one.
How many pieces of bacon did you put on each one?
I filled the whole thing with bacon. Only one slice, but one, if they're longer, I put 2 slices.
So you've covered the steak with bacon.
Yes, but they're, I sliced them in half. So this is what it's gonna look like when you get it rolled up with 2 toothpicks in it. And there she's showing you that with the bacon.
What should it look like? So should they be tightly wound?
Yes, you don't want them to flop open in the oil. Because we need to get on. When you do your toothpick, you want to kind of tuck it in so that it holds it.
Can you hold that up a minute, Mom? Just a minute.
See it?
Up.
Up,
Hold it
up.
up. There you go.
Put that toothpick.
Very good. Thank you.
Now I only boil them until they brown. Now some of the bigger pieces or the thicker ones, you might want to leave them in a little longer. But they will cook in your sauce. And we're hoping to have these for supper tonight with pasta. Now Vicki was going to tell you about how she makes for German roulade, which is just like our Italian braciolas that they make in Germany.
So in Germany, they still use the same steak. And instead of putting the sweet basil, they put a line of German mustard. Then they put bacon. And then they put pickles. And then salt and pepper. And they roll it up the same. They fry it the same. The only thing that is different basically is the sauce. They do a brown gravy sauce over egg noodles. So then they put the egg noodles in the sauce, and then they have their rouladen in place of the braciolas and the spaghetti sauce.
Now Brett has a different version of making these.
My brother Brett, he likes to use the same meat, and he likes to put spinach and jalapeno peppers on that. And then that's all he puts in there. I'm sure he uses salt and pepper also, and garlic. But he likes his that way.
Did Nani ever use an egg paste before the basil and bacon? Or was that just somebody? Emily stated her parents used an egg paste before basil or bacon.
No, Mom never did. This was the only way we had them. A lot of different of the communities, the villages all had little different ideas of what they made. Same with the cookies. You see different names with the same cookie, but the different villages, they have the same recipe, but a different name. There's 20 different regions in Italy, and they all make basically the same things, but they all have different names.
Burn yourself.
So, any more quick? Now we'll see as these get brown, then we're going to put them in the sauce, and then I will wash my hands and.
Breadcrumb and egg paste.
Oh, I've never done that. I'll have to check out a different Italian cookbook.
Carly, these are called braciolas.
Page 11 in your cookbook.
Julie says they use breadcrumbs and Parmesan mix.
Oh. We always put Parmesan and crushed red pepper on the table, and you can, when you eat them, you can have it with your pasta. Turn it around.
They're checking the cream puffs now.
My oven cooks, and everybody's oven is so different. My oven cooks darker, faster on the backside, so she's going to just turn them around. And we'll take them out in a minute. Okay.
Here's one meat.
Emily, do you have a cookbook with a recipe in it or not? And I don't remember ever putting Parmesan cheese except on the top. Now I do put it on my eggplant before I bake them. No more questions?
Not right now.
Okay, I think for our next cooking show, we have scheduled Monty's.
Lisa puts Parmesan inside hers.
Does she? Oh, okay. I never knew Mom to, but
How do those look, Vic? Can you show one up in the air? I can't, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty good.
yeah.
Okay.
Now after that, she's draining them and then she's gonna put them in the sauce.
Emily's gonna look for a recipe.
I will too. I've got several different cookbooks at home from our Italian Heritage Days in Old Wine. And I'll look and see what some of the people have put in there. Which reminds me, Italian Heritage Days this year, should we have it, will be August 21st in Old Wine, Iowa. But Red Gate Park was hit by a tornado and we will not be able to use it. They are remodeling it and they are going to have electricity and a kitchen counter for us to serve our sandwiches when they get it finished, but it won't be ready this year. So this year, we're probably going to have it at the American Legion Hall, and the plans haven't been finalized yet. Teresa Buckman, Perla Buckman is working on it. So we'll have to wait and see what transpires. The restaurant we had it at the last 2 years has closed down. Of course, Luigi's, where we had it many years ago, for many years, burned down. And before that, we had it at the Sportsman's Club, and that burned down. That makes you really, really think about all this. But we have gone on for over 40 years. So now we'll just let it cook in the sauce until supper tonight.
Cream puffs.
Cream puffs. The muffins are nice stuff. So she's taking.
Hold them over that way. Can you do it? You want to hold them up. So you want to talk about here's your cream puffs.
Here are the cream puffs. Cream puffs. You just like them a little golden brown.
Okay.
Now, put them on that rack over there, and as they cool, then we'll put a slit in them. We need this on? No. Is that all the sauce in there, Tim? Or not?
There's just a little bit left.
Now, I like them to cool. Now, there have been some recipes tell you to turn off your oven and let them sit in there to dry out a little for 5 more minutes after they're done baking. And that way the insides will get baked. All right. Well, that's our cooking class for today. You've seen the cream puffs. Can't wait to get into those, I'm sure. Tim will probably be the first taster here. Now, we've had a request for bread and for wanties and love knots. Those have been our requests. If you want any other thing, just text Tim or email Tim, and we will try to get it on a schedule. Now, our next one, we're believing, because of Easter, we probably won't have it until March 11th. April 11th, I'm sorry. Yes, past March. If I get ambitious and make my Easter bread, or my daughter gets ambitious and makes it, we will post that on Facebook. There is a recipe in the cookbook for it, but my mother wrote down ingredients, but she never wrote down what you did with all those ingredients. So we're going to practice on that this week to see. Because she just said 12 eggs, and I'm sure all 12 eggs don't go in the bread, but I think some of them do, and some of them are for the decorations when you braid the bread. So we will see. Yep.
Well, thank you for attending, and we will hopefully see you again in April on the 11th.
Take care.
Thank you.
God bless.
Hope you enjoyed it and hope you're making them. And please post. My niece Cheryl posted after she made her pretzels, and I was really impressed. They were beautiful. So if you try any recipes, please post so that we can see.
Okay, a couple questions are coming in.
Oh, okay.
How long do they stay in the sauce?
Until you're ready to eat them, and usually it's going to be, if you had it in the crock pot, I'd have them in a long time, but since we're doing them on the stove, they should be ready for supper at 5:30.
So you're leaving them, you're frying them, putting in the crock pot, and they're going to be how many hours in the crock pot?
If you did them in the crock pot, they have to be on low for 7 hours and on high for 4 hours. Sometimes I had put them on late at night, so they'd be ready in the morning if I was going somewhere for potluck.
And what do you serve with them?
You can serve pasta if you wish, and a salad, and homemade bread.
Or you can eat them by themselves.
Yep, they like to snack on them.
Thanks again, and have a good night. Say bye.
Bye.
Bye.